It is 7 o'clock, so we'll get the meeting called to order. As the co-chair, co-chair I guess is the right, vice chair is the right terminology. I'll run the meeting tonight. Do I have a motion to accept the agenda as it is proposed?
So moved.
Second.
All right, so the agenda is as given. A couple of comments before we jump into that. First off, I want to say thanks to Don and David for their many years of commitment and support of this group. Both of them have chosen to resign from the Airport Authority. I thank them personally as well as the Airport Authority for their dedication and their leadership over the years. They'll both be sorely missed. Personally, David did a great job in his role, as did Don, and it's going to put a burden on the three of us for a bit. On that front, we also have a new Airport Authority member that has been named. The commissioner's named Chris Paris to the Airport Authority. Chris is a Pickens County resident, business owner. He's owned several aircraft. He lives near the airport over there, so he's very involved in the airport community here in the county as well as the state. So we welcome him on board. He's out of country today, couldn't be here for the meeting, but we'll have him as we go forward. So previous meeting minutes, we don't have those to present and go through at the moment. David is sending those over to us. We'll go through those at a later date, and via email I'd ask that everybody give their approval so we can get those meeting minutes in the record book. That takes us down to public input. Anybody from the public that wishes to make comment, thoughts, input, we welcome it. Okay, thanks guys. At that point, we're down to committee and authority members report. I'll ask the current treasurer. The October numbers are in front of you guys. If you want to take a minute, have a look at those. We don't need to vote on acceptance. They're clearly what they are. If you have any questions, we'll try to answer. Alexis, Stacy, and I can probably walk through any of the open issues. In addition, we have the approved 2024 budget for the airport. So if you have questions on either of those, we'll address those.
Thanks for the input. Thanks for the increase in.
Yes, thank you. All right, no questions, no comments on that. We'll move forward. Any of the other committee reports? Don't think we have anything else there. That was the treasurer's report we just went through. Airport manager's report. Stacy and Alexis, comments from you guys?
Yeah, so we are raising the tie-down lease to $60 a month. We are also going to have a lease for our tie-downs. We also changed the requirement for insurance. We're going to require insurance regardless of where you're at, whether it be a land lease, a hangar, or just a storage unit. We're going to require insurance for that.
Same thing for your tie downs as well, I think.
Yes, sir.
Good.
So we are also having a Christmas on the runway. It's a toy drive car show that we're gonna have. It's just kind of like a small little thing that we're gonna have on the 23rd for a car show that has the Toys for Tots things. So that'll be fun. We set our date for our second annual Military Appreciation Day
Back up
for.
before you leave the Christmas thing. Is that going to impact airport operations? And if so, we'll need to get a note out to address that.
Yes, sir, absolutely. It will not impact any operations as far as aircraft go. We are going to set them on our apron right parallel to the terminal to the left-hand side. So
Okay.
there'll be no issue.
Morning, afternoon, all day?
It's from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m.
Excellent.
So there'll be no issue. It's only a couple cars that are just kind of wanting to show off and just, yeah, that's it. But they're really just raising donations for the community and, Toys for Tots. So there's that, and then our May 4th event, our second annual Military Appreciation Day, so that's a big thing. Their terminal work has been great. We're getting our electrician to move over the control panel, so that'll be done. And Phil will go more into dates and stuff like that, but we're making great strides on having the groundwork done for the terminal. There's just a lot of work in general going on over there, a lot of personal hangars being built up. It's fantastic to see the work and just the airport.
When is that? We set the date for that military appreciation day.
May 4th, yes sir.
What's the time? Do we have those set yet?
My guess is from 10 to 30, just like we did last time.
Okay.
Good.
But we'll base it on our aircraft that can come in.
And make sure we get sheriff's department support for
For parking, for
parking
sure.
and things
Yeah,
there.
because they were really mean to her. The people who were parking were mean to our volunteers last year, so we'll hopefully get the sheriff's department there.
Excellent.
The new accounting system.
Alexis, a question for you on credit card processing. I think there was a change in
Yeah.
both
Yeah.
hanger payments as well as you're researching new credit card processing for fuel payments over there as well, right?
So as much as I would love to go into this, Stacy,
We are still very new at this new credit card processing. We have changed computer systems countywide. So therefore, we have also changed the credit card companies that we're using. And we're the guinea pigs, we're told. So all the departments will be using it, but we tried the first thing yesterday or today.
but the auto payments will change to 3.75%.
Yeah.
Convenience fee.
Convenience fee.
Is that
Which
in line with?
equivalents to about $13 for the people paying their hanger rent. No big deal.
Standard hanger rent. So if you don't want to do that, I mean, at this point, we think that there will be other options in the future, but it's not there yet. At this point, you will continue to either send in a manual check, or you can get online banking through your bank account and set it up to where it comes, drafted out and comes to us that way. You of course can still do the credit card charge, it's just you're gonna hit the 3.75 fee that you'll incur. So, yes,
Do you know the address to which to mail a check? Is it this building attention, Stacy?
correct. Thank you.
Is that on the
She's
statements?
gonna send it out in the invoice, yep.
Oh, good.
Yes.
So it should be on all the invoices going out,
Yes,
so it's
we will.
easy for them to
Yes.
figure that out.
And we hope in the next couple months to have ACH transactions set up through
Right.
the payments.
We just don't have all the groundwork laid for that yet, so, but we are working on it. We met Friday, and so we're trying to make baby steps, but we'll get there.
Thank you. Alexis, you were looking at changing credit card processing for the fuel payments for the self-serve. Have you made any progress there? Have we reached any? Because we had an issue with American Express cards not processing off of that card processing system.
Yes, so I'd like to update all fuel systems. Currently, we have Fuel Master, which was put in 2008, self-service Fuel Master. And unfortunately, right now, it doesn't take the heavy Amex cards, and it still does dial up on the phone line. So we'd like to upgrade our fuel systems. We can upgrade to Fuel Master, but what I would like to switch to is QPod. That is what most of the vendors are using around here. All the airports around this area have switched to it, and it's basically just where when you're fueling your airplane, you have sort of a bigger screen, so you know exactly what's going in, and you're not going based off that little tiny meter, and you don't know what's going into your airplane. For our high wings, they don't know what's going into their airplane. You know,
Oh, we're
they
also
can't see-
set back from that fuel pump
exactly.
quite a bit because of the ramp area there.
So just upgrading our fuel systems to where it can better attract credit cards and systems that electronic systems that fit today's society, cause in 2008, what we had compared to what we have now is completely different, so just upgrading our fuel systems to
Target
meet the
date for
criteria,
completion on that?
yeah.
Do you have a target date for completion of that selection process? And
I'd like to have it done sooner rather than later. I sent the quotes to the board. So if we can agree on something, I'd like to have our fuel systems changed out by the first of the year.
Okay, guys, I'd ask that you go back to that email and have a look at it and put your thoughts there. I don't know that this is anything that requires a vote as the airport authority. It's just input on it. It's more operational than it is authority.
You
side.
want a report back from us by Tuesday, let's say?
If you get, yeah, that would be great.
Okay,
Tuesday next week.
we'll get an email.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. Anything else? Alexis? No? All right, that takes us down to the airport engineers report.
A lot of things here. So since last meeting you had the 5-year capital improvement plan. It has to go in. All public use airports have to turn that in. It goes in November. That has been entered, accepted, all that. We do all the paperwork related to that. You got everything in for that, and so you're good for another year, basically. Again, the projects that are requested in there, like fencing, example, those are for consideration on the next federal fiscal year. So typically around June is when we'll start to get feedback about tentative allocation if we're getting any funding. The request in there was for phase 2 of fencing. Phase 1, you got word last summer that they were funding that from the last CIP. So those plans, they requested that they be turned in November, the first preliminary plans. That project, they're using your fixed amount of money that you get each year from FA and the bill money temporarily now. So it's a fixed dollar amount you're given. So we do those plans, we show fence on there. It's sent in, they review, make any comments, then we'll be ready to go to bid. Probably about the time we have our next meeting, we'll go to bid. If the bids come in low, we add fence, because you have a fixed dollar amount. If they come in high, you take away. The starting point effectively that we went over, and if you remember you chose, was kind of by building the hangar ABCD right there, kind of pick up by that entrance. You'll wrap around the end, and then the end point will be as far as that money goes in phase 1. Then you'll pick up with phase 2. So those plans are already in. We'll get comments back. It'll be in the springtime, sometime in their bid. They'll then write a grant, and then likely that project will be happening maybe mid to late summer, something like
Phase
that.
one?
This
Phase 1 of fencing?
for phase 1, yeah.
Until late summer.
Then you'll hear likely June is when they send the letters out. You'll hear about phase 2. If you use, you've had several projects that are hot, big thing, like you've got the airfield lighting we're going to talk about. You've got terminal stuff. So now this gets you back where you regroup for a year or two, and you get do fencing and things like that are helpful from a safety standpoint. But they're also very predictable and local match on it. So that's what you're running forward with that. The terminal site, you want me to run through all this and then take any?
Yeah, let's run through it first and then come back
Just
to
to,
questions.
yeah, the volume's a bit, in a good way, is a bit high. The work that's going on right now, that's the electrical work, is actually in 2 parts. There's the electrical work. This is all based on moving things out of the way for the terminal and the terminal site work to happen. Electrical contractors out there, but in that work they're doing, they are also going to be doing, we'll say 2 phases. So the first phase is what we got to have right now. They're following up. It's not time sensitive to have to happen this week, but over the next 4 to 6 weeks. You don't have to have it, but it's going to move. There's a control panel and a meter that's right behind the terminal building, kind of where the little chain link fence comes up. You don't have to have that move now, but just like that comment earlier about circulation for the fuel farm, at the point the old terminal goes away, we'll be able to pave back a little farther, so you can become a little closer, and it makes that area all really nice and cleaned up. You'll need electricians out there in Amicalola when that gets moved. So you're taking that kind of all under one umbrella and taking care of that right now. It helps clean all that up from a safety standpoint, from an aesthetic standpoint. So that's what's going on right now with the electrical guy who's out there working with Amicalola, who's also pumping water because we had rain this weekend. So that's going on. The terminal site prep, so you have, starting in Monday, January 8th, it could be Monday, January 15th, depending on the weather. But we have about a 60-day, about a 2-month project that will be starting with that electrical out of the way that constructs all the site work for the terminal. So this is where you come in the entrance road and it tees right there in front. That has a little wiggle in the end of it. The last 50 feet or so of that road will be repaved. When you hang a right, that's all repaved. There will be the circular turnaround that goes under that porte cochere to the south side of the terminal, that parking lot. If you go out there now where you see the raised pavement elevation so it drains away, that's literally the edge of the parking lot back. So that will all go in place over that 60 days, and you will effectively, right away, have a new parking lot that will have about 30 spaces in it. You'll be able to use that right away, and that'll be terrific. During that period, we've had some preliminary discussion with Alexis, but we will have more of those right after, is how you designate everybody to park. Now we're gonna maybe temporarily up onto the ramp with some barricades or something, because you have to have a format for how you're gonna take care of that while you're working in that area. So that'll start again mid-January, run to mid-March.
And that is 2024, right?
Right now. Yeah, that's exactly right. Yes.
Sorry. It's
I didn't know you were gonna make this say what year. Jeez. Because and so the funny thing for everybody here who's been around for can appreciate this is we so much appreciate the dollars that are being given to us from FA and DOT for this, but we all recall that when the terminal money was allotted, we had 5 projects that needed to be done in advance of it. And when they hooked it in and said, we need you to wait, we're gonna make you not do those 5 projects until you design and bid this terminal, which is why, for refreshment for everybody, there was a mad scramble, and they gave us a date of like November. We had literally 3 months to design and bid a terminal building. That's not how that works, but we would not only lose the terminal money, we would lose the other 5 projects, which we had to have. When that's put together like that, you just say thank you, and then we slug away at it. But effectively, you were going to, done that way, we were given that notice in the summer. By the time they get the grant ready for you to sign with that in, it's literally, we were just talking about the way up. We went to the February, this is like 3 years ago, we went to the February county commission meeting. That's where it took that long to get it to y'all. You had voted for it, the commissioners voted that February of like 22, and then they signed the paperwork. So it's almost a year from their offer before you're allowed to start on the 5 projects, right? So you've done everything, you've done a great job. Those things are all done. The ramp expansion's part of those 5 things, moving the vault and all that. So now you sit on the cusp of that site stuff will start. So there will be a little bit, because we're in such a constrained area, there's a little bit of a pardon our dust thing that will have to do with the parking and some things like that. But you're not only taking care of that, you're doing things like the electrical, that position for when that ultimately the existing building is up there. It'll look tremendous. So that starts in January 24.
8th or 15th?
8. Yeah, rain date's 15.
Then you will have, and following that, the actual terminal site and all that comes up. And there's some stuff, maybe it'll be for you don't have any action, nothing that we have requires any action in this meeting. There will be some things related to that terminal building. We'll work with Ed on in the meantime, positioning for your next meeting so that there's any action items, you've got those approved and you kind of have those teed up in advance. Also, in this site prep project, there's 2 projects hooked together. And if you remember, we did some positioning when they had some supplemental state money to get 75% help with that site prep, about 1.2 million. It's terrific. But also airfield LED lighting is in that project. So we'll work with Alexis on this, but we contacted Trinity Electrical was a low bid, and they have that contract, that grant's already written, you're just waiting for their equipment to come in. We've been saying we think that's probably late spring when it comes in, and maybe you're doing this summer. Now they think they may get the equipment a little earlier, potentially they'll have it in March, we'll see. But you will have during that project, there's 15 days of runway closure. So overall, it's 35 days. 20 days of it, they're working on the parallel taxiway and the stub up by the hangars up the old horseshoe, which is great because that was an additive bid and we got that in. So you're getting all completely redone airfield lighting. 15 days, first phase will work on the taxiways and all that. Then second phase will have 20 days on there, and we'll have 15 days of runway closure.
Just make sure it's not around May the 4th.
We will, there is no, I don't wanna
How crazy
cuss on
would that
camera,
be?
there was no way, and you know what, will that happen on May 4th. But, as we
That'd be
get more
awful.
lean time, yeah. We'll try it, we'll get,
And we will
Alexis
give
a heart attack,
And we will give email notice to all of
So,
the tenants at the
Yeah.
airport and publish notims and everything, so we cover everybody.
correct, and what we just say, always in that kind of thing, where the runway, just like back when we did the runway marking several years ago, you will never get less than 30 days notice, we'll just kind of say that for us, so you have some peace of mind when we're going forward, and at the point we have a proposed date from them and they have all the equipment in, we'll come back and check in and just go, is this, before anything's sent out, does this sound like it will work for y'all? But that'll be, that'll be sometime in that time frame. So if they can get that in there and we can run it through, you may be able to have, when you have the military appreciation, you'll have nice
Lights,
LED lights, yeah.
Be good.
So that'll be a great, great upgrade in tone setter as well. Now less exciting stuff, the 3-year DBE plan that you voted on last time, you have to do that every 2 years. FAA requires that. That's in process now. We expect it to be completed this month.
What'd you say that was?
DBE, Disadvantaged Business Enterprise. So whenever you get an FAA funded project that has over $250,000 in federal money in it, there is a percent unique to each project. Typically it's about maybe 6% to 12% of the work that has to be given by the main contractor has to be given to minority and female-owned businesses that do work associated with, it could be erosion control work, it could be independent truckers that haul asphalt or haul dirt in a grading project. So that's something that's required, you have to do that every 3 years. So that's something that it was signed in September and it'll be completed this month. That work, although it's run through us as a procurement mechanism, that's done by a DBE firm, so it's a pass-through, so that's being worked on right now. And then the only other thing we have is, since our last meeting was a GAA conference, and so your representation and for us, kind of giving you, make sure you understand how important this is. Your presence down there, so this is with FAA folks and DOT people, annual conference, and so Ed was there, Alexis was there. It's a lot of work sessions and a lot of opportunity to show, just show the airport's commitment. And so that's done, and it's important as far as things we can do with that leverage funding and other things like that. So that was a great job. We had a great, Rick Jaspers was nice enough to attend our dinner and all that, and had a lot of good discussion about airport funding and all that. So that's a great thing that you make that investment of time, and we're down there for that. So, and that is all that we have.
If there was a question,
Yeah, David.
Yes, sir. Fencing, A, B, C, D, north or west or some other direction?
So if you think of the hangars ABCD in that entrance, so like if you're driving out to the airport and you could pull in right here to the parking lot,
Right,
essentially it would start kind of there
right.
and then wrap around, go to the north, wrap around in, and it will stop wherever it starts, and
Right.
wherever it stops. And then phase 2 will pick up there and wrap.
Understood.
You will roughly, you'll be getting maybe 5,000 feet of fence.
That's nice.
Roughly at a time.
Oh.
And this is, you're requesting is wildlife fence, so it's taller. FAA standard F-162 fence is 6 feet, this is taller. And so you'll get that wraparound and then slowly you'll enclose.
Good, yeah.
And so for them and the funding criteria and mechanism, once you get started, that's a helpful thing to leverage getting those additional phases. But you'll have
personally,
that.
I hate fencing. I think
Yeah.
it makes an airport not approachable for the public, and we want the public there. But from a safety perspective, we've had deer issues there for years. We've had theft and vandalism. We've had UTVs, four-wheelers driving across through there.
Two-legged
Taxi
wildlife.
lights broken, and so it's a needed thing.
It's a sad but good thing.
And also if you think about going that direction versus the other, as hangars are built out, then you can come back and infill between there. So you'll go
That
the
was
other,
the
kind of go
discussion we
the other
had
way
today.
around.
The way we're
Yeah.
going.
Kind of go clockwise.
Yeah.
Thank you.
There you go. And there will be
Any other-
certainly, at the end of phase one, there will be a line, and if the deer, but that's,
They'll run
you
around.
just do, yeah,
Just move the deer crossing signs.
You're good. Right. that's right.
About how tall will that fence be if it's not 6, it'll be 8,
10.
or do you know?
It'll be, so what we have in those plans is 10, because that's a standard wildlife. Now, we had an airport, and we've installed a 10-foot fence, a lot of places has wildlife fence. We had an airport where they came, DOT Aviation came back and wanted to change it and make it an 8-foot fence, even though that airport had a wildlife study, FA wildlife study that said needed 10 feet. So they paid the difference to get the 10 from the 8 because they didn't want the liability associated with having a wildlife study that says you need 10 and only build an 8.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
we expect it to be 10. If they come back and want to change it to 8, then we'll come back and decide whether we want to
Because
cover
it's
the
longer.
additional cost. Yeah.
After a $30,000 repair on one of our airplanes for hitting a deer at a different
That's-
airport, I can appreciate that.
That's, yeah.
So.
Yeah.
All right, any other questions for Phil before we move on? Down to commissioners' remarks. Commissioner, any remarks?
Excited to hear the schedule from Phil with getting everything put together. I think that's really exciting to hear. No, to piggyback on what Stacy was talking about with the finance software, one thing I believe for you guys that you'll appreciate once everything is fully implemented is the ability for different reports that we've never had the ability to try to break down and run. It's way more involved. Tower Technologies has a lot of different layers there that we've not had access to. It's a painful process to transition. We've had 3 different systems that are all being replaced at one time. Last pay period was the first payroll that was run on the new system, and so we've just now recovered from everybody trying to go through making sure that was done without a hitch. So when Stacy says that, if she shows up great at the next meeting, that's why it's the transition to the software. She's not exaggerating. It's just been a lot of learning, and it's a steep learning curve. So we're excited to see that as we get in.
Is that the company out of Texas?
Tower, yeah, Tower Technologies. There's 2 or 3 different programs that they use. Encode's the one that the county has been transitioning to. That it's pretty widespread for governments our size and slightly larger. I think we're kind of on the lower end. As we've gone through the transition, we've felt like we were the largest company they've ever worked with at times, just because we're, the unique differences in importing data. So we're there though. We're getting close, trying to get things wrapped up into the year. Like the budget was approved last Thursday, so the submitted requests were all factored in and a part of that budget. So it should not interfere. This was one of the first times we were able to come in prior to the year and factor in the CIP for the airport into the local match into the budget, so that there wasn't kind of a panic mid-year where we realized later that those funds weren't budgeted this year. They were. So those CIP projects that y'all have for 24, it becomes a challenge because we run on a calendar year from January to December 31st. The funding sources run on fiscal years that I believe are July 1. So when they say 24. Their definition of 24 isn't the same definition we have of 24, so we have to try to watch and monitor that. But I think that we were able to make sure that was included completely in the budget process this year. So
That's great news.
Stacy's doing a terrific job harassing our finance department to make sure they're all on the same page.
I think it's a lot more communication.
It does. That's what's helped, I think, the most is just understanding. I mean, once everybody understood the need for factoring in that CIP, and it's easy to try to point back and say it should have been done. Historically, there weren't those big projects that had those big dollar amounts associated with them. If you were coming to me saying we need a local match of $5,000, it's easier to say we can make an adjustment. But when you come and ask for $300,000, it's a little bit more difficult. And so the more we're on the same page and talking, I know Wendell and I have talked a lot. Ed and I have talked a lot. Alexis is tired of hearing from me at this point, just because we've been back and forth over there on other things. Stacy runs from me every time we see each other in the hall, but the communication's working. I think it's not just with me, but with the full board of commissioners, that they all feel like they're understanding. And I know we've talked a lot about trying to have some joint conversations in the future with getting the agreements all to where we're all on the same page. I think we're on the right track for sure.
Thanks to for your help and the road department's help. Rainwater mitigation, the road around the backside, the asphalt cuts, we greatly appreciate that support from those
And the
guys.
water department. The water department's doing
Yeah,
it.
water department being over there today, so.
Yes.
Yeah.
Water department, road department, I mean, it's just amazing how this county works together constantly, and has your back constantly.
So
I mean,
thanks
it's
for that
just
support.
phenomenal,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
great.
All right, next would be old business. Anything old business wise that we need to cover?
I'm not aware of anything.
Don't think there's anything there other than the CIP and the work in that, which we've already
Okay, no
covered.
action.
For new business, there's a couple of things that fall into new business. We need to elect chairman, secretary, and treasurer today with changes that we've had. We've had departures in the group, so we're gonna have to nominate and elect those officials. Any nominations for chairman, secretary, or treasurer from you guys? Otherwise, I'm gonna nominate.
I will nominate you, Ed. Be the chairman.
I second that.
All right.
Don't look at
Any
any
discussion?
I'm looking
There
for
is opposition. There's gonna be one nay here. All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Other than me? No? All right, it carries. Nomination for secretary. I'd like to nominate Mr. Turner.
I'd like to second that.
Is that what, that's why I'm doing it? You see what I'm doing?
I know what you're doing. I appreciate
I
it.
knew that was coming.
All right, we have a motion and a second. And any, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Carries. And we need a treasurer as well. There's only one man standing. So I nominate,
What better man than the banker?
exactly.
I knew I should have not come in tonight.
Nominate Jerry. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So noted, but it passed.
Railroad again.
We're
Exactly.
way more gentle to the new member that didn't attend his first meeting. than
We
what
should've loaded him up.
The one that doesn't show up usually gets that, so.
Exactly. In addition to that, I'd like to propose that we change our meeting schedule. Currently, we're on a once a quarter schedule. I'd like to propose that we change that to every other month on the even months of the year. So it'd be February, April, on down the line. So I'm not gonna sit here and go through all of it, but, again, staying with the second Tuesday, we had a request from the staff to move this to a 6 o'clock meeting from a 7 o'clock meeting. I don't know that I have any opposition to that. I'm okay with 7, but I think the 6 o'clock meeting, if we can all make it, gets these guys home a little earlier. When they stay over from work, they don't have to come back in. So I'd like to make a motion that we change the meeting to a 2-month cycle on the even months of the year on the second Tuesday at 6 p.m. Do I have a second?
So move.
Questions, answers? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Carries unanimously. Any opposition?
I think we need to do meetings sooner. I mean,
More frequently?
Yeah,
Yeah, I
especially
think
with
they-
everything we got
Flying
going on.
around.
I agree. Totally agree. From new business, I think that's all I had. Any other comments from the authority members?
I just want to thank everyone for the hard work. Lex is putting in a tremendous effort. Stacy's putting in tremendous effort. Our engineering firm puts on a tremendous effort. Thank the board of commissioners and so on. It's I've seen this thing from a grass field and nothing out there to, I mean, technically it's an enterprise now. It's a business and nice. And will be when terminal gets built.
Agreed.
Your base aircraft
Yeah.
120.
is,
114.
Mm-hmm.
you just punched through the 100.
That was the goal, last year, was to get us to that 100 mark.
Get us to the hang.
And we have reached that now. And that puts us in the top 10 in the state, I think. Don't know exactly where in that top 10, but it puts us there. And it also elevates us, I believe, to a different level of funding for some of these federal projects, the ad hoc
Airport
projects.
has regional impact in their planning criteria. And so that does some things for us in leverage and how we write narratives on grants and things like that. And you did that as an update December 1st, and they say that in advance, December 1st, every 2 years, the for the acronym, NIPIAS, National Plan of Integrated Airport Systems, that's where they do their check-in, and then they lock in that, kind of that number as they look at funding things. So you're doing, although we're doing that fence right now and kind of catching our breath out of some big things, upgrades you're doing, that positions for the future really well and things like that. And as you do the lighting, that's a 20-year project, you're done with that. The terminal, obviously, you're not gonna be doing another one of those anytime soon. And then you get to, we're down to paving or looking at getting some additional runway length potentially, but all that's positioning, and so there's stuff that's happening right now that's really positive, but you're doing the lifting and all the hard work to position for the future. That has a discipline level to it that's not very common, so
Excellent.
it's really good.
How many aircraft do we have now based? Did you say 114?
114, 100 of them at going to Ed Wood, the other 14. No, I'm just kidding, but 114, yes.
Yeah, and you technically, because some others did updates too, you're technically tied for 11th right now, but we're a little suspect to some of the folks that punched up higher than that.
And that's fine. So it's
Yeah,
still
but you're,
over
I mean,
100
methodically,
aircraft.
right where you want to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll add also for Chris, that little airport 101 thing that we do that gives some background to all the quirky grants and weird FA criteria. It's not very intuitive. We're happy to do that for Chris and always happy to do that if anybody wants a refresher on it. It's about 30 minutes or 45 minutes. So we'd be happy to do that if anytime Chris would like that. So.
Thank you.
That could be good for us to do that too.
Yeah. All right, if there's no other new business or comments, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Guys, thank you so much. Merry Christmas. Have a great holiday period. And Happy New Year.